And a good evening from virtual Talladega Super Speedway in Talladega, Alabama. It is the second event in segment 2 of season 2 for the eNASCAR Heat Pro League. Along with Hannah Newhouse, I'm Adam Mackey. We're going to bring you the best in NASCAR Heat racing tonight with the eNASCAR Cup Series. Now, Hannah, the drivers they had last week off, how will that make tonight's action even more crazy than normal?
Well, I think it's parring us up for a perfect scenario for some crazy racing action. Like you mentioned, Adam, the drivers had last week off, so they now have 2 weeks worth of practice under their belt. They're ready to get back to competition, and what a better place to let them go unleashed than a super speedway. It's the first one that we've had thus far in the Pro League this season, so they've got all this pent-up anxiety, and they're ready to get back on the racetrack, and we're going to let them unloose at Talladega.
Oh, it's going to be crazy. It's always 2 and 3 wide action tonight. They might go 4 and 5 wide as they go for the big victories tonight in the PS4 platform, which will be up first. And of course, the Xbox gamers coming up later. Talladega is on tap tonight for the eNASCAR Heat Pro League again. The second race in segment number 2 as we aim toward the championship at the end of the 2020 campaign. Good to have you back, Hannah. We miss Rusty Walrus tonight, but we do have you with us. Good to see you back in studio.
Hey, thank you. I was bummed that I had to miss 2 weeks ago. Unfortunately, I was down at Darlington covering that rain delay. Mother Nature just could not cut us a break. So I've been out for 2 weeks. I'm just as excited as these drivers are to get some racing action back underway tonight.
Hannah's been busy calling the real race cars at the real race tracks. It's been busy the last couple of weeks. She's done a great job with that for MRN as we get ready for tonight's coverage here on the eNASCAR Heat Pro League. There's a look at what we have coming up tonight. We're going PS4 racing here in just a couple of moments. Followed by the Xbox gamers, we have a couple of feature events coming up at the virtual Talladega Super Speedway. The PS4 gamers week in and week out put on amazing events, Hannah, and I expect to see that again here tonight.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we see them, like you said, put on great performances at the road courses, at the short tracks. Doesn't matter if you put these drivers in cup cars, trucks, Xfinity cars, they battle it out side by side every single week. And again, to put them on Talladega, and you'd mentioned it already, Adam, we're going to see 3 and 4 wide racing at a big racetrack like this where they're going to be drafting, broken away in packs. Pit road is difficult as is. The PS4 guys, something I always look forward to.
We had an awesome race for PS4 2 weeks ago at Mid-Ohio. Here's a look at the highlights. The drama of our second race of the night just moments away with the PS4 gamers. Pole sitter Kyle Arnold will lead the field into turn 1. One off the track, back in the field. Oh, big contact. I think that was Gornick slamming into the wall on the right side. He had nowhere to go. More contact. The Sunny D, number 17 of Hannah, off the track. Gets a little contact from behind. Gornick and Giles off the racetrack as Giles overshot the turn, which in turn pushed Gornick off the racetrack. That battle continues. It's back for the number 10 spot. Oh, look out. A contact made. Hannah and Ross get together. Ross off the racetrack. It's back on, but loses a couple spots. Castro is there. Will contact ensue. A little bit of off track. Here he goes to the inside. Side by side. Contact made. Coming to the stripe. It's going to be Arnold claiming the victory.
Main Gaming comes in, sweeps the day. Second win in the Pro League. Got us a good buffer going into the next 3 races. Catch y'all next week.
And that, Hannah, was a big win for Arnold. He leads the points and the driver's standings for segment 2 by 10 over Castro, who's already locked into the championships. We take a look at the race details. The length, 40 laps tonight. The tire wear times 3, full damage at this 2.66 mile tri-oval.
And I think Kyle Arnold is going to be very tough to beat. That is for sure. Like you saw him at Mid-Ohio. Now put him on a super speedway. He's one of the most diverse drivers we have in the field.
That is absolutely the case. One of the drivers that's in tonight's field is TJ McGowan, and he is going to give us some setup secrets if you were going to race on NASCAR Heat when it comes to Talladega.
TJ McGowan here, driver number 47 GTG Kroger Chevy. For a track like Talladega, it's all about speed, so you're going to want to max out your pressures, less service area on the road, in turn giving you a better chance at hitting those higher top speeds down the straightaway. General rule of thumb, you kind of want to be in the 291, 307 rear end ratio range, and just will give you good pull down the straightaways and keep your momentum up in the corners.
There you go from one of the professionals that'll be racing tonight. We'll watch TJ McGowan, see if it works out for that driver of the JTG. Doherty Throttler's number 47 Kroger machine. There's drivers that were locked in after segment 1. Justin Brooks, as well as Maxwell Castro. They are locked into the championship race, which will be race number 14 of the NASCAR Heat Pro League season number 2. Mid-Ohio winner to get things started was Kyle Arnold. You saw the highlights from that moments ago. Here's what Kyle had to say after that race.
What's going on, guys? Big Red coming at you for my second ever video. Second win in the Pro League. Don't really know what to say. I just messed that up too. Germain Gaming comes in, sweeps the day. Can't give everybody enough thanks, from Geico Military, NASCAR Pro League, Germain Gaming, Germain Racing as a whole, Sam for everything she does for us, Lucky Dog, my buddy Scout Bunk, all of Outsiders, everybody we test with, getting those laps in, the reps in, and such a short amount of time this week. Definitely paid off, though. Max had a really strong car and was able to close the distance the last couple laps. I was trying to run on the safe side, had honestly just a bad set of tires. Every time I went in the corner, the car wanted to push out. So, yeah, he was able to close the distance. Drove me with a ton of respect, so I can't thank him enough. Got us a good buffer going into the next 3 races. So, yeah, it's time to go work on some more stuff.
Time to work on some more stuff, and that's what these drivers right here are doing. That's a live look at the drivers in their simulation rigs, getting ready for tonight's action, the 6th night of the season, as they get ready to go racing action here at virtual Talladega. The drivers are in their cars. The starting grid is on the racetrack, which means we are moments away, about a lap or so, from taking the green. Hannah, here's a look at our starting lineup.
And we mentioned it, Kyle Arnold, tough to beat at any racetrack on the front row. Again, these guys qualified 2 weeks ago. So Josh Harbin, outside of him with Levine Family Gaming, and in row 2, Nick Jobs with Hendrick Motorsports and Corey Rothgib.
Taking a look at row number 3 and 4, Josh Parker and Mike Bross make up the 3rd row. Starting in position 7 and 8, Cody Giles in the 16, and Joey Stone in car number 8.
And in row 5, Maxwell Castro, a great run last week at Mid-Ohio. Always looking forward to watching him get to the front and battle for wins. Jason Mitchell outside of him. And in row 6, Brandon Hanna outside of him is TJ McGowan.
In the final row, making up our field, Brandon Gritton, one of the championship drivers of a season ago in the 14. Joe Gornick, who had some bad luck at Mid-Ohio a week ago, he starts in the 14th position. The field double wide, Hannah moments away from taking the green. The wild and crazy Talladega Super Speedway coming up.
And Josh Harbin and Kyle Arnold, as we ride along with them below the screen. You saw Josh Harbin check his watch. I have to wonder if he's checking his heart rate already, because things are about to get wild.
Coming into the tri-oval, getting ready for green. 40 laps they will go. Virtual Talladega Super Speedway the site. As the field will get underway, Arnold will look to go 2 for 2 in segment number 2. The green is out at Talladega. As the field races into turn 1, it's going to be Arnold in the Geico number 13. He was, of course, a favorite for that first segment. Came up a little bit short when it came to the championship. It was Castro locking in via the points lead after 4 races. But now it's Arnold with the points lead, and he leads this race down the long back straightaway at Talladega. Heading into turn 3, they're all nose to tail except one driver out of line, and that can cost you in a hurry, Hannah.
And that it could. We saw quickly Mike Bross jump down to that bottom line, got in line with the draft. And like you said, Adam, you do not want to get stuck on the high groove here and be outside. So fortunately, that driver able to tuck down here with them. But there is no room for mistakes. We know this here on Super Speedway Racing. Everyone's single file, high speeds through the corner. A lot of these guys are pushing each other right now down the straightaways.
You mentioned single file, but now we have 2 lines of single file, which means that outside lane might be making a run toward the front. It's led by Bross, the driver of the Petty Motorsports number 44, up to the 5th position. Right along now in the inside lane, nose to tail. There's Stone in the 8 right there ahead. He's in 6. Rothgeb right behind him in the Worth number 2 car. That's who we ride along with, as now some drivers starting to go up the banking, looking to the outside. You just don't want to get caught out there by yourself.
No, if you're going to choose to go on that outside, you need to have a teammate. Someone else needs to be able to break out of this draft and push you, but no one else is doing that right now with the 95 of Harbin and Kyle Arnold really locking bumpers here, is trying to get themselves away from the rest of the field. I mean, those two are pushing each other through the corners. We saw them fan out through the corners the first lap or two, but everyone now, again, still single file. This is a 40-lap race, so these drivers, they have to have some patience, which is crazy to ask of them having been off for 2 weeks, but they have to have some patience here early on in the goings at Talladega, because one mistake at a racetrack like this could really cost someone their night.
Of course, with the tire wear set at 3 times, that means the tires are going to wear 3 times quicker than they normally would in a race. So you'll see these drivers sliding around before they make those first pit stops. A little bit tougher to hold that bottom line along the yellow line as they race here at Talladega. Couple laps into the race, Arnold leads the way. Harbin running second, Jobs in third, Parker in fourth, Gross in fifth. They're all nose to tail. We saw the one early stage, about the second lap of this race. Some drivers look outside. Again, it's Bross doing that in the Petty number 44. Now we're side by side. All kinds of racing all over Talladega Superspeedway as they head down the backstretch.
Joey Stone, a little tap there to Mike Bross, getting that high line working. Like you said, they split off. We now have 2 single file lines here. The bottom line not panning out for Nick Jobs as he leads that effort with Parker pushing him. Ooh, little wobble there. We saw everyone accordion through the corner there at that top line. My good, there is no room for mistake right now. These drivers are pushing each other. You can see the backfeed, the wobble when one pushes a little too hard. Kyle Arnold right now has to be on his game, because one little slip up could mess up the 8 drivers locked bumpers behind him.
It could mess up the ones even on the bottom lane if some of the cars go low. Everybody's got to be a little nervous right now with only 4 laps into this race, and we are racing hard at Talladega. The Geico number 13 of Arnold leading the way. You see him lower left of the screen. Harbin, he's running in the second spot, nose to tail, pretty much all the way back through the back of the field as Arnold and Harbin leads Bross, Stone, Rothgeb in the top 5. Coming down to complete another lap. It's been pretty racy so far, yet to see any mishaps, but you know those could be very close on the horizon with the way they're racing early.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing here could mess everything up like we talked about. But again, these drivers have had 2 weeks off. They have been turning laps every day, practicing a ton here on Talladega. So they've got this figured out. And you have to wonder if there are some drivers here on the track that they trust more so than others, and those are the drivers that have linked up at the moment. So they've practiced this tandem drafting. They've practiced this single file draft here, and they trust each other right now. They know what they're doing, but when it comes down to it, lap 35 is not going to win the race tonight, so they're letting everyone play out and pan out like they need to, but these laps are going to wind down, and someone is going to get impatient. Right now, Kyle Arnold and Josh Harbin, though, completely stand out at the front here, but everyone knows to tell that wobble. It makes me nervous as we ride along here with Joey Stone right behind Mike Ross. They start to wobble like that, ooh, and you almost have to hold your breath there for a second.
Yeah, dangerous moments, I think, for these drivers running that closely nose to tail. $2,000 on the line for each of these races tonight and each week for this NASCAR Heat Pro League Season 2. A lot of money on the line, $1,000 for second, $500 going to the third place finisher in each of the races, but it's all about getting to that championship as well and winning a segment, as our segment winners did already for segment 1. We're in race number 2 of segment number 2 with Kyle Arnold leading this race in the Geico number 13. He, of course, won the first race of segment number 2 at Mid-Ohio a couple of weeks ago, but he has a hungry pack of challengers behind him. Harbin in the 95, Bross in the 44, Stone in the 8, Rothgeb in the number 2, still running nose to tail. 7 laps in the books. You're watching the eNASCAR Heat Pro League Season number 2, race number 6 of 14 at Talladega. Crazy super speedway racing. All drivers within about 1 second of one another.
And everyone patient thus far. Again, no one making any crazy moves, but we talked about it, prior to this race, but right now these drivers are abiding by the yellow line rule. It's a gentleman's rule. So the game actually will let them go below that yellow line, but they have all vowed and said that they will not go below that yellow line as drivers. So they're riding it, being very cautious and careful of not going all the way down there. So they're going to have to be on their toes even more so, because nothing is stopping them from going below that yellow line, but they're having to self-police, and that's a difficult thing to do when you know and you want to go down below that apron in order to make a move or able to get that edge on someone through the center of a corner. Thus far, though, again, no one has done that. But I think when it comes time to pass, someone's going to have to commit, and they're going to need the help of someone else to get up there and make that high groove work. We saw it happen in practice. They're capable of doing it, but it's going to take that group, like we've mentioned, to break away, take the risk of being stuck on that outside groove, and hopefully getting some teamwork behind you to push and contend for the lead.
And you know, the key, again, we mentioned it, one of the big keys tonight is getting on pit road cleanly and making a pit stop without either spinning or speeding on pit road. Going to be a huge key tonight. I think this whole pack might come down to pit road all at the same time. That's going to make things even more wild as we are about 10 laps into this first race of 2 races tonight. This is the PS4 platform for the NASCAR Heat Pro League tonight. Clean and green so far. Arnold leads the way, but they're all right there in one pack, just looking for an opening. The opening hasn't come yet, and Arnold is so good, Hannah. It's just holding a pretty wheel at the front of the field. He almost gave an opening there to the bottom lane.
And that he is. If you look at your top 4 or 5 runners right now, 6, really the top 9 runners right now, they're all returners from last season on the NASCAR Heat Pro League. So these guys have a full season under their belt of racing each other and racing hard. They trust one another, and I think that's paying its dividends right now. They know how each other's going to react. Kyle Arnold, obviously a standout early on, contended for that round 1 win, and already has a win in round 2 here under his belt. And Harbin as well last season was so good. He was consistent. Mike Bross was good as well. So these guys know what they're doing. They've done this before. They've raced with one another. And I think that's showing right now in the trust that they have going through these corners, bumping, touching, and knowing that it's going to be on the line, but it's not going to be enough to cause any mayhem. But again, Kyle Arnold has just been astounding thus far this season. Holds tight on that front line, and it's going to be tough for someone to make that risky move to try and challenge him for the lead.
Kyle Arnold won race number 3 at Dover earlier this season. He won the most recent race 2 weeks ago at Mid-Ohio. He's looking for another win tonight. He's not locked into the championship, but he leads the championship standings for segment number 2, and he wants to stay right there. That win at Mid-Ohio was huge, gave him a 10-point lead going into the second race of segment 2, but first through 14th, the full field nose to tail right now as they race through 3 and 4.
So nerve-wracking when you see them come off of the corner there and spread out just ever so slightly, everyone staying within the car length in front of them. You don't want to stick your nose out too far and get outside of that draft. So when they start to bobble, they have to be ever so careful. You see a couple guys starting to get a little anxious. They're starting to wonder if they should challenge on that outside groove there. Josh Harbin in that second spot, you saw him through the corner there, peeked his nose out behind the leader of Kyle Arnold. Couple guys down below the yellow. You saw it, the run challenge for the lead potentially. Looks like he may have slipped back up in line. We're starting to heat things up, Adam. I think in the next couple laps, someone is going to start getting that outside groove working.
Yeah, I think pit stops might be coming up as well, as we saw some of the drivers ducking low as they will come to pit road this time. They were kind of giving each other the signal that they were heading to the pits. I think a couple drivers staying out on the racetrack. A few of them have stayed out on the track. We'll ride along now with Britton in the Smithfield number 14, following the Brandt number 7 of Gornick. Hannah from Indiana in the 17. He stayed out. Mitchell is the leader in the 32. Those 4 drivers stayed out. Everyone else came to the pits. Some of that could be trying to avoid what could have been maybe a little mayhem coming to pit road.
Yeah, pit road's so difficult to get down and slow down onto here at Talladega. So I think you hit it there, Adam. They separated themselves. They'll be still within that fuel window. And I have to say, Hannah from Indiana, I like that. It's a little shake up from Hannah Montana, but Hannah from Indiana, I'm gonna have to coin that one and use that one moving forward. Even though I'm not from Indiana, that's a good one. I like that.
Hey, I've already coined it. You can't coin it, Hannah.
Yes.
I've already done it. It's a way to differentiate Hannah from Indiana and Hannah from North Carolina.
Right. Yes, common confusion there.
That's right, 14 laps into this race, watching the four that did not pit last time around. They're running the bottom of the racetrack now as they continue on first through fourth. Mitchell, Hanna, Gornick, and Gritton watching as they race now into 3 and 4. We'll see if pit stops are coming up for these four drivers as everyone else has come back out. Rothgeb ends up being the leader back out of the pits. Arnold, if you look at the rundown on the left of the screen, Kyle Arnold, Hanna, he led. He won at Mid-Ohio. He's leading the points. Terrible problems on pit road. He's 14th now, 1 lap down.
Yeah, something must have happened for Kyle Arnold there. Unfortunate break. Still a lot of laps left here, 25 left at Talladega, but not a place that you want to lose the race is on pit road. You know, you'd rather have something happen on the racetrack than something on pit road. So tough break. We'll have to see how he rebounds here, 1 lap down, like you mentioned, in that 14th spot. But riding along with both Brandon Gritton and Joe Gornick there. They're nose to tail here. Gritton, though, in that 4th spot. Oh, you see them all break down to come down pit road. That was those top 4 runners that we were waiting for. So those 4 will cycle through now, and that should put Corey Rothgeb in the lead as these 4 cycle through pit road.
And there is the Worth number 2 for Team Penske, leading the way. Mitchell, Hanna, Gornick, Gritton, they've all come to pit road. It will be Rothgeb taking over the lead, I believe, once they make their way around the racetrack. They had been trailing by 42 seconds when the others came to the pits. But Rothgeb, Stone, Gross, McGowan, you know, he's running mid-pack right now. After these pit stops, he might be up in the top 5. He gave us some speed secrets before the start of the race tonight as we watch this pack of cars. 6 of them that have been able to separate themselves from another 4 or so back here, making their way through the tri-oval. Closing on the halfway mark of the race, we have 24 laps to go.
In that group of 5, like you had mentioned, now going to join the field. We saw those 4 cycle through on pit road. They'll come up onto the racing surface and go to the tail end of the field after cycling through. But Rothgeb now in the lead. That little pack has broken away, and I think this is where we'll start to see people challenge. Once 2 or 3 of them bust out from behind the leader, that's when we'll start to see, oh, we've got a pack here forming. Those 4 that had joined the field being Rothgeb and Gornick, as well as a couple others. Heavy damage, though, looks like on the 18 of Parker, if you can see it, the nose of his race car with heavy damage.
Big time damage on the front of the car. He had a good run on the outside lane, and despite the damage, they've been able to make a run with Castro pushing, and Castro has some damage to the front of that car as well. Maybe bump drafting a little bit too hard by the looks of the hoods and nose pieces on the 18 of Parker and the 1 of Castro, and now they do slide back, and they'll have to get back in line and catch the draft and follow in line, hoping to keep those damaged nose pieces and hoods out of the air as Rothgeb leads the way in the 2. Stone, Gross, McGowan, and Harbin completing the top 5, 3 away from the halfway mark of this 40-lap event. The eNASCAR Heat Pro League season number 2, segment number 2, race number 2 of that segment from virtual Talladega Superspeedway. Hannah Newhouse, Adam Mackey bringing you the coverage here tonight. We ride along with Mike Bross of Petty Esports.
Mike Bross in that 3rd position, had a good run last season and is back this season, but with a new team, and he showed he's been competitive all season long thus far. Still looking for that win, though. Joey Stone as well. We had him on in the preseason up in the booth with us, and it was fun to have his insight, but now he's been back on the racing surface for RCR and looking for that win this season as well. But Corey Rothgeb being followed very closely by those 4 or 5 drivers. I mean, they are all waiting for the opportune moment to peek out there from the draft and take that chance. And if anyone's going to do it, I think it's going to be Joey Stone. I think we'll see him make that. You see him through the wobble through the corner there. I think we'll see him branch out, maybe get some help from Mike Bross to make that outside groove work. But as long as Corey Rothgeb holds that yellow line, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, and they're staying nose to tail. In doing so, they've been able to separate themselves even further from the rest of the pack. But there's 6 drivers in contention right now in this pack. As we're going to see the cross flags this time, it's going to be halfway. 20 laps in, 20 laps to go for Rothgeb in the 2. a driver from Waynesboro, Virginia, in the Worth entry for Team Penske Esports, and he leads the way. The strategy of these drivers coming to the pit road and having a smooth pit stop has seemed to pay off. The Caterpillar number 8 of Stone running in the second spot.
And you can see it, they start to try that outside groove, not fully committed though. The rest of the field behind them started to pan out somewhat, but back single file, down the straight they go. Again, Joey Stone looking for that win, has been strong all season long. Just needs a little assistance here with 20 laps to go at Talladega. Ooh, they start to break away, those three of Rothgeb, Stone, and Bross from McGowan, Harbin, and Giles. If they can, and it looks like they're pretty clean from lap traffic, that could shake things up. But the other pack has now all found each other. Castro leads the way on that one as well. Or I'm sorry, Castro does not lead the way on that one. But that group of 6 cars as well, starting to get a little anxious. They're all looking to make some moves here as the laps continue to wind down.
Watching in a couple of those cars that we talked about earlier, Castro in the 1 and Parker in the 18 with damage, but they're right in the middle of that pack, probably not affecting them too much unless they get out of line and try to make a move. It might hurt them. On the left of your screen, 1st through 6th. On the right of your screen, you've got 7th on back, a pretty big pack of cars, 2 of them, and they've separated, and it's separated, Hannah, during the pit stops. That's where we had one big pack of race cars. They came to pit road. Some drivers had some issues. Some of them got off pit road smoothly. And that's what put this first pack of 6 way out front. It was huge. But remember, we have another round of pit stops that could shake everything up once again.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw Kyle Arnold get trapped for a little while, that lap down. He is now back on the lead lap, but by himself. Unfortunately, not with that competitive group there. So again, these pit stops could be the saving grace for him. But we saw, like you said, those 2 groups come in. But the latter half of the first group has found the second group, and that's where that second group of cars on the racetrack currently is right now. So when we see them come down pit road, everyone is going to have to be so careful, especially your front runners of Corey Rothgeb, Joey Stone, Mike Bross, TJ McGowan. That group right there, if they don't execute pit road perfectly, could be how they lose the race. And they're also going to have to rely on the people around them as well, because if someone like 2nd or 3rd comes down and messes up on pit road and collects other people, it could end someone else's night. So pit road plays a huge part in tonight's finish.
Remember, over the first 16 laps or so, Arnold led the way. Then we came to the pits. He had issues. He came out 1 lap down, and right now he finds himself in 14th. We continue to watch the top 6. Rothgeb, Stone, Bross, McGowan, Harbin, and Giles all in contention to win, but that one more crucial pit stop and then the race down the stretch for the PS4 gamers here in race number 6 of the eNASCAR Heat Pro League season number 2. Hannah Newhouse and Adam Mackey bring you the action, the excitement about to pick up over that final stretch of the race. That's when drivers will start to maybe peek out of line a little bit more. They know they're not going to be able to just follow Rothgeb lap after lap after lap. They're going to make that move and go for the victory. There's the second pack of cars making their way down the back stretch.
And we ride along with Nick Jobs in that second pack. You mentioned it, behind Brandon Gritton. That second pack trying to catch up, but they'll have to use pit stops as that opportunity to do so. But Parker in the midst of that group with that heavy nose damage right now, not doing too much damage to his run. Again, able to hold that pack draft at the moment. They all kind of spread out through the corner there. They're tempted by that yellow line, but no one does so. But you can see at the bottom of your screen, Corey Rothgeb and Joey Stone all focused right now. They're at the front of the group. That's your 1 and 2 runners at the moment. Looks like they might be catching Kyle Arnold. Again, I said he was not part of any pack at the moment. Was part of the casualty on pit road there. So they're going to catch him. This could be interesting to see how it plays out if someone uses this as an opportunity.
Yeah, and we're down to 15 laps to go, which means pit stops are coming up. The final round of pit stops for the group that we're riding along with right now. Rothgeb, Stone, we're riding with the Caterpillar number 8 of Stone. Bross behind him in 3rd. McGowan, who gave us the speed secrets, running 4th, and Harbin running 5th. And you see some of the drivers that came down pit road a little late last time making pit stops right now. Jobs, Parker, Castro They're coming to the pits. Actually, they came to the pits with a big group on that first pit stop. This time, they're going a little bit sooner, though. A change in strategy for Jobs, Parker, and Castro, trying to make up the ground that they've lost. In fact, they had found themselves a numerous seconds back in that second pack as we watch the lead pack. Rothgeb in the Worth number 2. Here they come down pit road. Crucial pit stops for a final time as that Worth number 2 of Rothgeb makes it to pit road. No spins. That's a good sign. And that driver, heavy damage to that number 18 of Parker. It's gotten worse throughout the race.
That it has, and cycling through here, he will be at the front of those few drivers that came down before the rest of the pack. So will be interesting to see how that damage plays out to leading the draft. It looks like he just has Castro, I believe, behind him, pushing him. So hopefully he gets some more assistance from Nick Jobs, riding along with the 14 of Gritton now in the lead with Mitchell in front of him. They also still need to pit. So we now have broken up our pit cycle into at least 3 groups with 13 laps left. That's going to spread things out here and make it interesting to see how things pan out with 3 separate groups on the racetrack.
And these 4 drivers, Mitchell, who we ride behind in the Little Joe's Autos number 32, Gritton, who we're riding along with in the Smithfield number 14, the Brandt number 7 of Gornick running in the 3rd position, and then the Fastenal number 17 of Hannah from Indiana running in the 4th spot. Those drivers were the ones that stayed out longer the first time, and then they cycled back through and fell back through the pack. But they have stayed out longer again this time. 12 laps to go. Mitchell leading the way, getting plenty of good TV time here tonight. In fact, ready to put some drivers a lap down. There goes Arnold, the one-time leader in the 13. Big run now, and a couple more drivers as they look to the outside lane. Side by side, heading to complete another lap. It looks like Mitchell and the trio behind him going to stay out at least another lap.
And that puts Parker, Castro, and Jobs all a lap down. Kyle Arnold now trapped 2 laps down. Tough break for last week or 2 weeks ago's winner at Mid-Ohio. I know he was looking for another good run for Germain Gaming, but tonight not looking like it's in the cards for Kyle Arnold. But Mitchell down below that yellow line there with Brandon Gritton following him. You can see it. It's so tough to get slowed down through the corner here when you do decide to pit, so they'll have to execute well. But complete shakeup right now in anything that we've seen thus far in the running.
Yeah, we'll see now. These 4 drivers at the front of the pack getting ready as they signaled to each other they were going to come to pit road, and they do. The 4 at the front of the pack have come to the pits. Rothgeb in the Worth number 2. He again leads after things cycle through this pack of cars. Once they come around one more time, they should shoot by the front straightaway. And it is a pack of 6 still. So the last time when those 6 came to pit road, they all made clean, flawless pit stops. They stayed in the same pack without any of them having issues, though you see Ross has had some damage to the rear end of that Petty Esports 44.
And that he has. I mean, that's going to be difficult. Fortunately, it doesn't look like too much damage. It also looks like there could be damage on the hood of Josh Harbin here in the 95 as well. And like you mentioned, Adam, I think it's just basically from everyone running this nose to tail. They're bumping each other through the corners, and they're not being easy on those bumps. We've seen a couple times where they'll go through the corner and shoot one of the other drivers somewhat out of the racing groove. So that's probably where a lot of that damage has been acquired. But 10 laps to go. You can see with this pack here that they are getting anxious. They are ready to make that move, fan out, and challenge for the lead. But Brandon Gritton still your leader over Mitchell and Hannah. And then there's that pack that we were watching there of Rothgeb, Broth, who's fanning out through the corner there. Again, they're starting to work that high groove. This is one of the first times we've really seen a full pack of cars commit, and they had to due to Kyle Arnold being on the bottom there with Mitchell.
Yeah, you see a couple of the cars that went to the pits late this time. They made some strategy adjustments, and they came out in front of Rothgeb in that 6-pack of cars. However, that 6-pack of cars had such a momentum build up that they were able to fly by the 14 of Gritton, who falls in line in 7th. Falling in line in 8th is Mitchell. Hannah's lost that pack a little bit back in the 9th position, but their strategy here recently has picked him up a few positions after staying out a little bit. A quick pit stop, they came back out to get in line and actually puts them in contention. You see Rothgeb, the leader, lower left of the screen. Bross, who's running in 2nd. lower right of the screen. He's having an outstanding race for Petty Esports. 9 laps to go, down to 8 to go this time. Things starting to heat up for the PS4 gamers.
That they are, and you can see Mike Bross talking there. You have to wonder what he is saying. And on the other side of it, Corey Rothgibb saying nothing. Complete focus there as he leads Josh Harbin as we ride along in that third spot, waiting for something to happen and hoping that it necessarily does not involve him. With 8 laps to go, you hate to say it, but we still haven't seen the big one, Adam. These guys have been patient. They've been racing hard. They've all had different pit strategies, but with the laps continuing to wind down in this pack of cars here, 7, 8 cars, something is bound to happen. It's just in the cards here at Talladega.
And if you're Rothgeb, the leader of this race, the driver of the number 2 from Virginia, you're just trying to hold that yellow line and not open it up, or you're going to have a pack of about 7 drivers pass you as they will stay in the draft and move you to the back. And right now, he's done a good job. Rothgeb has led a lot of laps in this race, the most of any drivers. Bross running in the 2nd spot. Harbin runs 3rd. Stone runs 4th. Giles runs in 5th. You're watching the PS4 race live tonight for the eNASCAR Heat Pro League Season number 2. The Xbox gamers, they still have their race coming up. They're anxious and waiting to go. It's been a couple weeks, and it's going to be a couple more weeks before our next race, as we're going to race on the 18th as our next event here in June. It's going to be at Iowa, so whoever wins tonight, Hannah, gets to carry the bragging rights for a couple weeks.
And that they do, and we're going to go from a super speedway to the shortest, or the fastest short track out there, and they're going to have 2 weeks of practice. Once again, they're going to be just as excited to go back racing, and like you said, someone is going to have these bragging rights, and someone's going to be looking to dethrone those bragging rights as the races continue to wind down in each round. The points will continue to tighten up. Again, every round or every race so crucial in each of these rounds to get those points and be at the top of the final race in each round.
Watching them start to shuffle a little bit. You mentioned the wobble, the left and right action. Some of that not on purpose. They just trying to hold a steady wheel and keep a bottom line. But when you have that momentum build up on a driver in front of you, you're scrubbing off a little bit of speed, trying to avoid hitting them hard, maybe causing a crash. With 5 laps to go in this one, we have about 8 drivers in contention for the victory from virtual Talladega. We ride along now with the Smithfield number 14 of Gritton. He's running in the 7th position. He has McGowan right in front of him in 6th.
And that line of cars in front of them, all so patient at the moment, but it's only a matter of time. 5 laps to go. Corey Rothgibb and Mike Bross, a little distance between himself and Stone and Harbin, but I think that we'll see one of them pop out here eventually, and we'll get the assistant. They're going to start fanning out here in the corners and take advantage of the small amount of laps left, but that damage getting a little worse on the back bumper of Bross. Harbin as well. Looks like we had someone pop out and try and contend make that outside groove work. Did not work for him, so he will tuck back in line of this single file group.
And that was McGowan back there, our speed secret guy from the start of this race. What a run here. 3rd place, trying to move up Harbin. Up to 2nd. He goes for the lead in turn 3. Is anybody helping Harbin in the outside? It is Stone in the 8th. The Caterpillar car out there as well. Side-by-side action. Going to be 3 laps to go at the line. Harbin takes the lead away from Rothgeb. Can he clear him? Will he try to close the door? No. Still side-by-side through the Talladega Tri-Oval.
And there it was, Joey Stone jumping out to help Harbin with the push. So Harbin now getting that assistance from Joey Stone, able to edge Rothgibb for the lead. Ooh, contact here between a couple of them, look like Bross and Stone into each other. That has allowed the push for Bross and Rothgibb to excel. He regains the lead, Rothgibb and Bross over Harbin and Gritton now in the mix. So those 3 on the top starting to lose the momentum. That's going to have Harbin, Stone, and whoever was right behind them as well. See, they slipped to the back. They're going to have to get in line with 3 laps to go.
Oh, it was a good attempt, but Rothgeb's been able to hang on to it. Gritton has moved himself up into 3rd. Remember, he started in row number 7. Didn't have a good qualifying effort. Has used strategy tonight in the pits. A quick pit stop the last time around, the 2nd trip down pit road, and he's put himself in the lead pack with a chance to win. 2 laps to go in this one. Rothgeb, Bross, Britton, Mitchell, McGowan, Stone, Giles, they're all there. Harbin there as well. He had that chance for the lead and couldn't quite clear Rothgeb. Lap and a half to go. They're coming to the white flag as well as some traffic that moves to the high side. It is Jobs moving to the outside lane.
And Jobs being respectful high through the corner there allows the field to get below them. You have to wonder what's going through everyone's mind. They saw the attempt. They saw the effort to take the lead. It did not pan out. It pushed those 4 drivers back to the 6th, 7th, and 8th spot. Will someone try to take the lead from Rothgeb? On the final lap here at Talladega for the PlayStation 4 drivers, it is Rothgeb over Bross, and they've broken away from the field.
But does that group from third on back get a big run now at the top 2? Though the top 2 doing a great job down the long back straightaway, nose to tail. Rothgeb and Bross going to be coming to the checkered this time. Through turns 3, through turns 4. Here we go. That field does have a big run. Trying to pull the block. It was the 44 of Bross. Who's going to do it? They're going to be about 6 wide. There goes Gritton around. Heavy damage there. Rothgeb coming down to the stripe past the tri-oval. Through the grass goes Harbin. Cars crashing to the line. It's going to be the Worth number 2 of Rothgeb claiming the victory at Talladega. Oh,
What
the
a
excitement
final
built
lap
up
there.
throughout there, Hannah, and eventually they did go side by side, and I think they came about 4 wide to the stripe. It got crazy.
That it did, and you can see those 2 drivers running side by side there, giving little virtual congratulations to each other, Corey Rothgeb and Mike Bross. That was teamwork at its finest to be able to get to that final lap and contend with each other for the win. We saw drivers through the infield, up into the wall. It's exactly what you expect on that last lap here at Talladega.
NASCAR Heat Pro League season number 2 live action tonight from virtual Talladega. Doesn't get any more exciting than about the last half lap of that race. Drivers were patient, trying to keep their cars in one piece, not make a mistake for the first 39 and a half laps, and then all of a sudden the gloves were off and they were racing for that $2,000 top prize here tonight. Race results from our race here at the Talladega Super Speedway. What an event for Rothgeb. In the number 2, that Worth machine, he's got to be our driver of the race, Hannah. What an event for Rothgeb as he led the most laps and somehow held off about 7 drivers that were aiming at him on that last lap.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have to give it to him. It's so tough to consistently lead here at Talladega with the pit cycles we saw, with the challenge from Josh Harbin and Joey Stone on that outside. They still had enough momentum to hold that lead position. But while we want to give it to, and I think he's rightfully deserving of it, Corey Rothgeb is, he's almost got to share that driver of the race with Mike Bross, because those 2 were the epitome of teamwork. All race long, it was Bross pushing Rothgeb. Every time someone would get a run on the outside of them, those 2 would team up, lock bumpers, and be able to get that momentum and the speed they needed to maintain those front positions. And that's a big key part of a super speedway like Talladega, is being able to work with the other drivers on the track. And you know that Mike Bross and Corey Rothgeb had worked this out. They trust each other on the racetrack.
You know, they're playing a video game. It's NASCAR Heat Pro League season number 2. And tonight they were racing for $2,000 to win. If it looks like fun, well, it is. It's NASCAR Heat 4, NASCAR Heat 5 coming up soon, going to be out in the near future. You can pre-order your NASCAR Heat 5. NASCARheat.com for details on that. As we now have the race results, it took a little while to come up with because of that crazy finish. Corey Rothgeb for Team Penske Esports and the Worth number 2 takes the victory. You mentioned Mike Bross and the great job he did pushing all race long. He takes the 2nd spot. Harbin, Stone, McGowan, our speed secret guy from before the race, he finishes 5th. Good run for him tonight. Gritton and Parker, they had some damaged race cars at the finish, still brought home top 7s.
And so crazy to see Harbin with that 3rd spot. He went through the grass, through the infield when he crossed the line. So cool to see that top 3. Brandon Hanna, though, in 8th. Maxwell Castro, a good run early on, comes home in the 9th spot. Cody Giles and Jason Mitchell, followed by Joe Gornick, Nick Jobs, and Kyle Arnold. Last week's winner rounds out the field 1 lap down.
Championship standings race going to be flipped upside down because Kyle Arnold, he came in leading 40-30 in the second segment and took a big hit tonight, finishing 14th out of 14. Still 2 races to go. Had the win at Mid-Ohio, which helps keep him in second. So he's definitely right there. Rothgeb takes the points lead with tonight's win, and he's going to look to lock himself into a championship race at the end of the season. After the next 2 races, that's when we will lock somebody else in. Harbin runs 3rd in points. Castro, who's already locked in, is 4th. Bross is 5th. Joey Stone, Brandon Gritton completing the top 7.
And Kyle Arnold talked in his interview that win last week at Mid-Ohio was a buffer, and he used that buffer tonight. So he doesn't have much of a buffer going into the next 2 races. But drivers like Josh Parker, TJ McGowan, and Cody Giles in that 8th, 9th, and 10th position in driver standings are looking to have better runs at Iowa and moving forward. Joe Gornick, Brandon Hanna, Nick Jobs, and Jason Mitchell round out your unofficial driver standings in the PlayStation.
Well, Hannah's making her way down to the infield to head to Virtual Victory Lane, where the winner tonight, Corey Rothgeb, will be celebrating a driver from Waynesburg, Virginia. And I believe we have Corey there with Hannah right now.
First off, Corey, congratulations on your win tonight here at Talladega. What are the emotions to win at a racetrack, a super speedway, after having a week off and to get a win in this second round?
Yeah, absolutely. We started at road course here in the second segment, and those aren't my strong suit. So I knew that these next 3 tracks were crucial. So Talladega is kind of a crapshoot. Anybody can really win that. Just came down to strategy and hitting marks going into pit road, but definitely a relief to finally get a win. Second season, had a lot of consistent finishes last year, but there's nothing like winning.
And that being said, I feel like a lot of teamwork was into play as well at the tail end of that race. You and Mike Bross, he was pushing you to the end there. What's the relationship with you guys? Was that something you had practiced? Because it looked perfectly executed at the end of that race.
Mike, me and him have a kind of love-hate relationship. But there towards the end of the race, our group kind of got split up. So it was just me and him out front. And, coming to like 2 to go or so, he said, we got split up. He said, I'm sticking with your bumper wherever it goes. I'm going to tell you when the run's coming. We're going to move up and block it. And so that's what we did. It worked out. So, we had to go out front, but Mike deserves just as much of that win as I do.
And it paid off for you as well. But we've got an off week coming up, and then it's to a short track of Iowa. How are you feeling about going to Iowa in just under 2 weeks?
Honestly, Iowa and Atlanta, I felt those were the tracks that I felt most confident in segment 2. So really looking forward to that. I know we got a great car, some fine tuning adjustments to do, but we have that off week, like you said. So looking to get that number 2 Worth Ford Mustang tuned up and dialed in for a short track. I love short tracks. Like Richmond, and Iowa's just about like Richmond. So looking forward to it.
Awesome. Well, again, congratulations on your win tonight here at Talladega.
Thank you.
And that's your winner tonight in the PlayStation, Corey Rothgeb, taking the win at Talladega.
Thank you, Hannah. Great interview as always. We have another race coming up. The Xbox gamers are getting ready to go for excitement at Virtual Talladega. We also have NASCAR Heat 5 coming out here in the near future. NASCARheat.com for more details. And here's another look at a preview of NASCAR Heat 5. NASCAR Heat 5. You order now on NASCARHeat.com. You can receive a free career booster pack, $125,000 worth of in-game cash to build your own team, and extra Sunoco paint schemes. NASCARHeat.com for details. Adam Mackey and Hannah Newhouse with you tonight. Race number 2 of our evening coming up live from virtual Talladega Superspeedway. It's the Xbox gamers getting ready to go this race. 40 laps in distance, tire wear times 3. Full damage at this 2.66 mile tri-oval. Just as we saw the PS4 gamers do moments ago, they stayed pretty well clean. We're able to keep them in the right direction till that last lap. And again, it was all bets off. Hannah, what a crazy finish to that one.
And that it was, and that's exactly what you expect here at Talladega. That last couple laps where people are finally forced to make the move, and I think we'll see the same here in the Xbox. A lot of eyes are going to be on Daniel Buttafuoco, but I'm not going to jinx it. That's what I said about Kyle Arnold, and unfortunately, his Germain teammate did not have the best of evenings. But a lot of tough competitors in the field for this Xbox race, and again, what a better place to let them loose than at Talladega.
Coming off a race a couple weeks ago at Mid-Ohio, here's a look at what happened. And a good evening from virtual Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Segment number 2 opener for season number 2 of the eNASCAR Heat Pro League.
Some of these drivers, they're going all out and they're burning every drop they have in the tank. Business is picking up. Now, as you see right there, I was just thinking, who's going to send it down into that right-hand corner? This battle is really heating up right now.
Buttafuoco, without any major issues or a mishap tonight, he's going to be impossible to beat. 20-second lead now. 3 wide between those 3. Still racing hard despite being out of contention for the win, trying to pick up very important points. And then they go down through the infield and off the racetrack. Smile on his face in the lower left. He looks pretty happy as there he goes, crossing the line. Buttafuoco claims his second road course win of the season.
Woo! Oh my goodness, I can't believe it. Win number 2 in the eNASCAR Heat Pro League. Thank you guys so much for the great support, and hopefully you can keep it up for us this segment. Woo! Oh my goodness, I can't believe it. Win number 2 in the eNASCAR Heat Pro League. Thank you all so much. I can't believe it. 3rd win for Germain Gaming and Geico. And I just want to say massive thank you to both Germain and Geico for allowing me to participate in Season 2. Big thank you to Kyle Arnold and Matthew Billingsley for all their help so far this season, and their help is greatly appreciated, and they really helped me out a lot here in Mid-Ohio. All the fans for coming out, thank you all for watching these races. Hope everyone is staying safe back at home, and I hope that hopefully we can get back to normal here, but I'm just really happy. Also, big thank you to everyone from NASCAR Heat, Motorsport Games, Fanatech, all the commentators for commentary, my mom, my dad, my family, all of my family from Texas, Indiana, and New York watched the race. So that is insane. So thank you guys so much for the great support. I can't believe you got a second win in the Pro League, and hopefully we can keep it up for us this segment.
That we will soon find out. There's the drivers getting ready to go. 14 of them here tonight, ready to race for the Xbox 40 lapper from virtual Talladega Superspeedway. Hannah, they are ready. They can't wait to see this race take the green.
That they are. I love how creative some of them have gotten with their camera angles. Looks like Matt Heel up there in the corner. He's got maybe a strobe light going on. Maybe it's just me that I'm seeing that. I have to wonder how that works when he's driving. But so cool to see everyone here ready to go. You can see a couple that are starting to get in the mode a little quicker than others.
They're in the mode because they are on the racetrack. It is the pace lap leading up to this 40-lap event from virtual Talladega for the Xbox gamers. Tyler Dohar set quick time. He's on the pole. Daniel Buttafuoco, so fast everywhere we go, leads the points by 10 coming in. He's on the outside of row 1. Jordan McGraw, row 2, with Sam Morris starting on the outside.
And in row 3, Justin Brooks, and outside of him, Brian Tedeschi with Team Penske Esports. Row 4, Diego Alvarado and Louis Zader outside of him for Chip Ganassi Gaming.
Looking at row number 5, Slade Gravett and Nick Walker make up positions 9 and 10. Jose Ruiz in the 95, starting in the inside of row number 6, and Matthew Selby starts 12th in tonight's event.
And in the final row here for the Xbox race, Matthew Heel for Gibbs Gaming, and outside of him, Riley Ogle. Both drivers looking to potentially take advantage of those pit stops to shake things up and gain track position, because we saw it in the first race with the PlayStation, Adam. It's very difficult early on to gain any track position just simply by passing on the racetrack. It's been a lot of strategy racing.
There's Dohar and Buttafuoco. Front row starters there at the bottom of our screen as they are moments away from taking the green. 2 pit stop race, so a little bit of strategy play out in our first one, with some drivers electing to stay out a little bit longer to avoid that big pack of cars coming to pit road. Moments away from the green waving over Dohar, Buttafuoco, and 12 other challengers looking for the $2,000 top prize tonight, bragging rights for the next 2 weeks, and big time points to try to get them locked into the championship race at the end of the season. Green is out at Talladega. Heading into the first turn, it's going to be Dohar in the 88. He's able to clear Buttafuoco and go into the number 1 spot. Buttafuoco in the 13, a little bit of a rough start, slips back now into the tail end of the top 5. In fact, out of the top 5, that outside lane, Hannah, dropping back quickly.
That it is. We saw this earlier, that outside lane not getting much assistance early on. It almost seems like you're doomed when you start on the outside here. Unless you can get that push to be able to contend there, you're kind of forced to draw back and join the tail end of the pack. So slowly but surely they're taking that opportunity. They're getting cleared down, as you can see here, the 42 of Louis Zader in the 14 spot. So he will tail end the field there. Buttafuoco as well. Buttafuoco started on the front row, now rides in the 13th spot.
Oh, we have one going up the banking into the wall for a moment there, the 5 of Morris. Another one up into the wall. That was the Rowdy Energy number 51 of Heels. So 2 drivers have issues here with just 1 lap into the books, not the start that they wanted to have, and that's going to put them out of the lead draft.
Tough break early on for both of those drivers making that contact. So caution is out on the racetrack. No one breaking formation, even though caution is out. 39 laps to go, so 1 lap in the books. I love it. They're all still nose to tail here.
Yeah, so a yellow, our first yellow flag of this event with 39 laps to go. It was the 5 of Morris, the 51 of Heel. 2 drivers that had problems here early on, not what we wanted to see, and especially not what they wanted to see, as the 3 drivers, 2 or 3 drivers at the back of the pack as we get them realigned and get ready to go back green again. 37 laps will be on the board to go when we restart the field coming through the tri-oval here at the virtual Talladega Superspeedway. Back underway as we watch them head into the first corner, side by side. 36 laps to go. Quick yellow flag here at the beginning of this race. And it'll be drivers, I would think, trying to get to the bottom lane. And right now, the outside of Brooks in the 37 back at action this week here at Talladega. Brooks was the winner of segment 1, which locked him into the championship race at the end of the year. He missed race number 5, but he's back this week. 3 wide back in the field. There goes Buttafuoco in the 13 to the top of the racetrack as he tries to rally from the back where he fell on the opening start of this race. But he's out there by himself. That probably won't end well, Hannah.
That it won't. He needed to take that opportunity and get down as quick as he can. He had a great run, was running in that 13th, 14th spot, carried that momentum, and unfortunately gained no assistance there on the high groove. So like you said, he has slipped back to the 14th spot once again. These guys, though, here in the Xbox, already taking way more risks early on in the race than we saw with the PlayStation drivers. So back to the single file formation, riding along here with Brian Tedeschi in the 7th spot. So he is smack in the middle here of this single file pack. They'll go into the corner here again. No one decides to fan out. We saw it the previous laps, but looks like everyone going to hold tight to that bottom yellow line as laps continue to wind down. Only 5 in the books, though, so you have to wonder, is everyone going to be patient after they just saw how those first couple laps played out for drivers like Heel, who is now already up to that 10th spot.
You're watching the eNASCAR Heat Pro League Season number 2. It's segment 2 and race 2 of that segment. 4 races in each segment locking in one driver to the championship race. Somebody's going to take home $30,000 when they win that championship race later this year. And we've only locked in 2 drivers so far. That was from segment number 1. Points, very important for the drivers' standings. And we saw those get turned around a little bit when it came to the PS4 platform a while ago. And we'll watch how things play out here. Buttafuoco was the points leader by 10 over Nick Walker. But Walker leads this race right now over Gravett, McGraw, Ruiz, and Brooks, the top 5.
And that top 4 starting to somewhat break away from the rest of the field. The 95 of Ruiz tailing up a 4-car pack there as the rest of the field still single file behind them, though. You have to wonder, how long is this push going to work for these 4 cars? Ruiz at the tail end of that push. We could see this second pack start to get a run. This is where they could challenge through the corner. You can see it. They break out there. Brooks leading the efforts with assistance from Dohar. They're now side by side through the corners.
You know, when they drop back like that, as we saw in the last lap of the PS4 race, they get a great run when it's a pack as we have on the outside lane right now. Plenty of momentum. Can they get around them? Walker still leads the way, but Brooks, the segment 1 winner in the outside lane, making headway and leads the lap. 32 laps to go. Great battle side by side throughout our field. Brooks goes into the number 1 spot. Little bit of a wiggle there, but he kept it in the right direction. He's being followed closely by Dohar. Tedeschi there in the outside lane. 4-car pack at the top. The rest of the field along the yellow line at the bottom. Will they be able to get out front and close the door on that inside lane? We'll soon find out as we watch back in the field with the number 5 of Morris, who had problems as part of that first yellow. And again, this will be a 2 pit stop race. Those will probably be coming up in another 7 laps or so. So plenty of great racing coming up before then.
Brooks now dipped down to that bottom line. That means Dohar and Tedeschi had lost the assistance that they had from Sam Morris as well. They have slipped back out of the draft and are quickly losing that track position. But looks like Brooks was shuffled up out of the lead. Walker now regains it. Brooks trying hard to get down back into the line without losing too much track position. Continues to slip on track position from the 5th, 6th, and now quickly down to the 7th spot. Brooks, check
Look out,
there.
trouble! Oh my gosh, they piled up the whole field. There was got a little excited there, Hannah. We had the big one.
That we did. I can't even exactly tell you what happened there. Looked like a couple up at the front stepped on their brakes. Everyone, of course, carrying that momentum into them. We just had about half of the field in that wreck, Adam.
Oh, it kind of came out of nowhere in the middle of the straightaway. Wasn't expecting it, and all of a sudden, about our 3rd or 4th place car looked like it was halfway into the next car, and it was a huge crash, and cars piled up everywhere. You know, our PS4 race went really clean to the last lap, and then we had all the excitement coming to the line and cars going through the infield. They kept it clean so they could make it to that last lap. There are a lot of drivers with damage on their cars as we get realigned for the restart. 28 laps to go here at Talladega.
And with that restart there, that will cycle people through, that will shake up our field. A couple drivers that have been shuffled back as the green flag is back in the air. Zader and Walker now side by side on that front row. Will someone come to the assistance of Zader and help that top line? Does not look like it. Again, that top line quickly slipping back as the bottom line begins to file single file.
You mentioned the wobble that we saw during the PS4 game and the left and right as you see the drivers try to work the wheels to stay in line. Didn't notice as much over the first couple of laps, but now we really see them working left and right. Walker in the lower left of the screen, he's the leader. Daniel Buttafuoco in the lower right, he's worked his way all the way back up to 2nd place. And Geico number 13's in pretty good shape right now, Hannah, to put himself in contention to maybe go 2 for 2 in segment 2.
That he is. He started on that front row and then went to the back. And now he's back up to that 2nd spot, challenging with Walker. And Nick Walker, one of my favorites to watch race, as well as Daniel Buttafuoco. So this is a great battle here for the lead. We saw the two in the PlayStation race that worked as teamwork. Will these two work together, push each other, and maintain that front spot? But there's already some contact there. Looks like Buttafuoco with a little bit of contact, maybe from Gravett. 3 wide through the corner. I'm not even sure who's leading at the moment. Again, they're spread out, fanned out. This is way more intense than we saw early on in the PlayStation race.
Oh yeah, these drivers aren't waiting till the last lap. Dohar side by side with Heel. Dohar in the 88, the Good Humor entry on the outside lane. The Rowdy Energy 51 of Heel running the inside. They're going down on the apron through the asphalt pavement that's down off the racetrack. Gravett goes back out on the speedway, up the banking. They continue still under green. Cars all over the place. Dohar leads the way. Brooks runs second. Morris now third. Unbelievable, and we stay under green. Oh, and now
Great
yellow
car
comes
control.
out.
Great car control we saw there by Slade Gravett. You said it, all the way down across the apron, back up onto the racing surface, able to hold on to it. A couple others, though, unfortunately up into the wall. I think I saw Diego Alvarado there in the 43 make contact with that outside wall. 25 laps to go, Adam. We've had 2 cautions here, and both of them including a large mass of the field.
You know, in a number of these yellows, these drivers have come to pit road and made some changes to their cars quickly, but 25 laps to go, so that changes the pit strategy a little bit. Probably another pit stop still forthcoming with about 15 laps to go or so. There's the leader, the Good Humor number 88 of Dohar, driving for Junior Motorsports at the front of the pack. And now they've made pit stops, and Walker, Dohar, Brooks, Selby, the top 4. Buttafuoco runs in the 5th position. As we're ready for green again, 23 laps to go, Hannah. Will we continue to be crazy? There's the Rowdy Energy 51 of Heel down on the apron before we even go back to green.
I think we will. I think these Xbox guys have had this pent-up excitement the past 2 weeks to get back on the racetrack. And like we said, throw them on the high banks of Talladega. Make them draft. Make them not be able to mess up. Ooh, quick move there at the bottom. One of those drivers able to sneak in at the slightest little spot there, able to wedge down to the bottom groove there and get in the draft. Again, Zader, unfortunately, a victim of not being able to jump into the draft quick enough. He'll slip back to that 12th spot. So, single file, 22 laps to go. Will this last? I'm not quite sure. I think that we'll see them get excited again and break out into a couple groups. It's telling so far that these guys are excited and ready to pass, but Talladega, not one to not have patience at.
There's Brooks with a little bit of a side draft, pulls alongside the Oscar Mayer number 6. Battle for the lead. Brooks on the outside has help from behind. It's Buttafuoco, and it's been Brooks and Buttafuoco a lot this season so far, and they're first and second at Virtual Talladega. Nose to tail, they help each other out front. They get around the 6 of Walker, who has slipped back to 6th. Gravett now runs in 3rd. Selby runs in 4th. Walker's moved back up to 5th. The crazy racing from 6th on back, still side by side. Little bit of a role reversal here tonight. Normally we're used to the PS4 racers competing like this. Tonight, it's the Xbox gamers from the start of the race to now. Halfway, 20 laps in, 20 laps to go. Brooks leads the way.
And Brooks regaining that spot, like you'd mentioned, was unable to race the previous week, but our round 1 champion. So he is locked in to the championship, but looking for another good run tonight. Buttafuoco in that 2nd spot, won at Mid-Ohio, looking to add a super speedway to his resume here in the regular season. They push each other down the straight into the corner here, as again, Gravett and Selby working together behind them. Those 4 now able to put distance between themselves and Walker in the 5th spot. We've seen it. We get 4 cars that break away, and then 5th on back forms their own little draft. Will we see Walker take advantage of that and challenge for the lead? Down the straightaway they go.
Brooks leads, Buttafuoco in 2nd. Brooks won segment 1. He's in the championship race locked in. Buttafuoco, he leads segment 2 after his win at Mid-Ohio. So even 2nd place would be a great finish for points for Buttafuoco. Gravett runs in 3rd. Selby runs in 4th. Walker runs in the 5th spot. 19 laps to go. Still another pit stop coming up for these competitors. And green flag pit stops haven't had to take place yet, Hannah, because of all the yellows we had over the first half of the race. That could really shake things up.
That it could, and no one forced really into a strategy yet, but couple laps clean and green. That's more than we've seen most of the race thus far. So Brooks in that lead position. Couple guys starting to wobble behind them, and the top or the bottom four starting to lose the draft a little bit. They're holding on to try and catch back up to Zader. So it looks like Dohar, part of that group, trying to catch back up. But Buttafuoco getting impatient. I think he's in that second spot thinking, if I can get some help. And we saw it play out in the PlayStation race for Mike Bross. Him and the winner of Corey Rothkin worked together, and then he had his moment to take that shot on the last lap here. But these four starting to break away once again.
You know, I was doing a little racing at Talladega on NASCAR Heat yesterday, NASCAR Heat 4. I put it on normal competition and did a quick race, and I ran away from the field. I lost them all way back in my rearview mirror. I put it on normal because I wanted to feel good about myself, Hannah. It was a lot of fun, actually. I need to step up to more advanced level. I started to think I was pulling away like that. I could probably get the job done here tonight. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I will give you that. These guys know what they're doing. We saw TJ McGowan give those speed secrets on how to run here and run well. A little run here, though. Speaking of run, we're getting that group on the outside. A little challenge here that's being pushed by Tedeschi. We ride along here with Walker. He's decided to jump up and help that outside effort. He may have just made the wrong decision. We saw them dip down. Tedeschi now into, hold on to it. Great save by Tedeschi. Kept it off the wall. Tried to get down too quickly to that bottom groove. Wobbled and lost it. So Walker going with Tedeschi to the back of the pack.
Craziness at the front of the field. And throughout this whole race so far, 34 laps into the book, 16 laps to go. The Xbox gamers at Virtual Talladega Superspeedway on the eNASCAR Heat Pro League season number 2. It's race number 6 of 14. Two-car breakaway right now as Gravett and Selby have pulled away. Unfortunately for them, as we see one up against the wall, I think it's Heel in the 51, who's a lap down, and he's stopped up against the outside retaining wall. That run that Brooks and Buttafuoco have is a big one as they come up to challenge the leaders down onto the apron for a moment. Back in line goes Brooks. He's running third, and now we've got a solid pack of cars, all nose to tail. Once again, 15 laps to go.
And with 15 laps, so much can happen at this rate. We've seen groups get that push, try and contend. We've seen contact, multiple cautions now. We still need pit stops. Gravett right now leading, being pushed by Selby and Brooks. Brooks, though, has shown tonight that he wants to be in that front running spot. He is not content in the third spot. So in that little pack, they're able to get the push through the corner here. Single file. Everyone holding it together at the moment as they come into the corner, though. So 15 laps to go. Those pit stops still needing to take place.
Be coming up. They're within the pit window now to get to the finish. Gravett leads the way. Selby runs in second. Again, Brooks and Buttafuoco have dropped back a little bit, and this is where you see that big run that pack could get, like we saw in the last lap of the PS4 race and like we saw just a few laps ago. They've got the run. Here they go to the outside for the lead. Here comes Brooks and here comes Buttafuoco. Side by side through turns 3 and 4. Brooks has it for the time being, but here comes Gravett fighting back on the inside.
And side by side, they go down the straightaway again. Buttafuoco trying to push Brooks to the lead. Contact, though, he makes with Alvarado. Slips down there, tries to get into the draft, but it was quickly blocked. It was blocked by Selby in that 4-car, and now those 3 starting to break away. So you've got the 3 on the top. Contact looked like between a couple of drivers, everyone managing to hold on to it, but Buttafuoco once again was at the front of the field and is quickly being shuffled back now to the 9th spot.
Oh, they are racy at the front of the pack, and Selby in his highest running position in this race. The number 4 of Selby, the Haas Tooling entry from Louisville, Kentucky, running in the number 2 position. U.S. Air Force number 43 running in the third spot, not anymore. Pit stops coming up for just two of the drivers as they come to the pits now. Bravitt and Selby coming earlier than the rest of these competitors. That leaves Alvarado with the lead, and the U.S. Air Force 43. Brooks to second, McGraw running third, Dohar, Zader completing the top five. Pit stops for these drivers still to come. We'll see how this plays out with Bravitt and Selby coming first.
And that will cycle them through. Alvarado now in the lead with Brooks pushing him. Who will come down next? Could we see a group of three separate groups with pit stops taking place with 12 laps to go? Alvarado looking for more good runs so far this second round. It goes down across, slowing down. These drivers have to execute these pit stops perfectly. We've seen contact on pit road. We've seen drivers lose a race early on here, so they'll have to execute pit road. But a big group, Alvarado, McGraw, Brooks, Morris, Dohar, and Tedeschi in that group to pit with 11 laps to go.
First round of green flag pit stops, and the only one we'll have in this race. All the others came under yellow. Zader, Buttafuoco, Ogle, Ruiz, and Walker staying out, which really shakes things up. Three different strategies on when they're coming to the pits, Hannah. That could make things real interesting, as there you see the group of cars that's led by Zader. The leader, Zader, Buttafuoco runs second, Ogle, Ruiz, Walker, all nose to tail in the top five. They drop down to the bottom of the racetrack as they head once again through the tri-oval, not coming to the pits quite yet.
And that group being forced here shortly. They're going to have to pit. They will not be able to make it. 10 laps to go here at Talladega. Zader again leading that group with Buttafuoco. How far will they push it? This will allow everyone to spread out. Are they waiting on a caution that could group this field back up together so they would be able to run with the full pack? Or are they going to risk it and come down here under green flag pit?
First of those that have already made their pit stops is McGraw running in the sixth spot. Following him, Brooks, Alvarado, and Morris. Those drivers from sixth on back have already come to the pits. The first five have not. They still have to come that way. Zader, lower left of the screen. Buttafuoco, lower right of the screen. They are first and second in the pack coming up on the tail end of the field. They have a big run here on a couple of cars at the tail end of the lead lap. They'll go to the outside lane. All the momentum with that bigger pack of cars should be able to draft around easily on the outside, even though their tires are much older and we've got them changing lanes. And I think some of these guys might be getting ready to come to the pits, and that's going to be interesting because a couple of these drivers, Hannah, will be staying out, so they have to make sure and avoid them when they do come to the pits.
Yeah, that will shake things up, like you said, being able to get down, slow down below that yellow line without causing mayhem with that group, because not everyone here is going to go down pit road. So we saw Buttafuoco dip down there, through the grass. Was that Buttafuoco? Who was that?
Wasn't Buttafuoco, I don't believe, was watching. It's Ruiz. He's the one that went to pit road, got a little sideways, nearly spun the car out, but he came to pit road by himself. No one else came, and that could really put him in a bad position as he won't have the momentum of those that are in a pack. So 4 drivers remain out that have to pit. Zader, Buttafuoco, Ogle, and Walker, and you see him dropping down below the yellow line, which means I think this time we're going to see pit stops with 7 laps to go coming up. That should cycle things through, and guess who might just be our leader at that point? The 37 of Brooks, who runs in the 6th position, and here they come. A few more drivers heading to the pits.
And they'll have to get slowed down and execute those pit stops. So cycling through the field with 8 laps to go. Walker now being scored as your leader here on the scoreboard. And you'd mentioned it, Adam, Justin Brooks will cycle through that 2nd spot. There's a reason we've called him Mr. Consistent through season 1. He always seems to find himself within that top 3, that top 5, whatever it takes to be in contention for the win. And it's consistency that's going to get him those points to lock him in. He locked in that first challenge or that first round there. Could he get enough points to be, once again, atop the leaderboards? But tonight, he's looking for that win, but he's going to have to battle with Zader and Walker for the win.
There you see the 37 of Brooks running right now in the 5th position, but Zader, Ogle, Buttafuoco, they're still ahead of him. Walker still leads, but Walker's lead of 36 seconds, I believe, will come to an end when he makes a pit stop. 6 laps to go. There's Buttafuoco on the bottom of the racetrack, as a number of those drivers still below the yellow line because they are just coming back out onto the track after pit stops. And they are not going to be in the lead draft, and one of the cars goes around up in our top 5. I think it's Morris. It is. The number 5 of Morris has crashed on the back straightaway. He was in the top 5 and now sliding down the scoring pylon on the left of your screen. 6 laps to go, and there's the leader, the 37. Well, I should say second place, the 37 of Brooks, as the yellow flag waves again, and this is going to set up excitement down the stretch.
That it is. This is the caution that Justin Brooks wanted. We saw him, he's on the leaderboard in contention for the win, but needed this caution to gap everyone back up after those pit stops. We had small clusters of cars all throughout the racetrack here on Talladega, and with only 14 cars in tonight's race, that's allowed them to spread out. So this caution will group everyone back up here, and it's going to be about a 5-lap shootout.
And look what Walker's done. He's been able to, now it looks like 6 drivers are not on the lead lap, partly because of the strategy. Walker stayed out extra long, and now he'll be able to come to the pits under yellow. So that played out fairly well there for him, as Morris, Ruiz, Tedeschi, Dohar, and Heel all pinned at least 1 lap down. So 9 drivers on the lead lap, ready for green. 3 laps to go, back underway, down the stretch we come here at Virtual Talladega for race number 6 of 14. The Xbox One gamers out there right now in the NASCAR Heat Pro League. Brooks leads the way in 1 and 2, and all kinds of shuffling back in the field.
Alvarado on the bottom there, getting a little push from one of the other drivers. They're 3 wide through the corner for about 6th on back, but Brooks, McGraw, and Zader, your top 3 runners, starting to break away with 2 laps to go. Will we see another pack form and get the run to challenge your leaders? They're starting to single file. You have to know that some of these drivers are thinking, I've got 1 chance to make this happen. It's 2 laps, they'll cross the line here, and they'll be on the final lap. So they're going to have to execute this perfectly because Brooks right now is looking strong.
Final lap coming up. Brooks, McGraw, Zader, Alvarado, Ogle, top 5. Buttafuoco back up to 6. Gravett runs in 7th. The white flag has waved. Can Brooks hold him off? As we saw Rothgeb do in race number 1, but there you see them drop back a little bit. Zader, Alvarado trying to get a run and trying to get that pack together to make that run here on the last lap as they head to turn 3 at Talladega.
They continue to run. They get a little push. You see McGraw, gets on the brakes there, checks the rest of the field up, so they'll go spread out through the corner. But Brooks and McGraw broken away from the rest of the pack.
And as Brooks brings them to the line, crashing behind, the top 2 have pulled away side by side, coming to the stripe. Brooks is going to be able to hold off the 3 of McGraw coming across the line. Oh, that one wasn't quite as crazy at the front, but from 3rd on back as they tried to mount their challenge for the win, there was crashing taking place, and that actually helped Brooks and McGraw get to the victory, and Brooks remains outstanding in the 2020 NASCAR Heat Pro League season number 2. It still says final lap, but I believe we've come to a finish, Hannah.
I was going to say, I'm looking here at our scoring pylon. There we go. We have now stopped the car. So yes, Justin Brooks, another phenomenal run here tonight at the Super Speedway of Talladega. He seems to be able to find something that works for him at every single racetrack we go to. And that could be the key to getting all the way to the end and that final to be established race that we will go to for that championship. Justin Brooks has got to have this in favor, knowing that he's been able to perform no matter where we go.
Well, Justin Brooks has had an outstanding year, claiming another victory. His 3rd of the season in 6 races. Brooks has won Homestead, he's won Dover, and now he's won the Super Speedway of Talladega. He's our driver of this race, claiming the win with some crazy action taking place behind them. As the race results, not quite as tough to come up with in this one as the first race. We had drivers changing positions, going through the grass, coming to the line. This one was wild from lap number 1, the second race. That for the Xbox gamers as we take a look at the rundown for tonight's event, led, of course, by Justin Brooks. As we are just waiting for a couple more things to be finalized in the race results, Hannah, but Justin Brooks, as we talked about, amazing run once again tonight.
That it was, and you almost have to give an A for effort to Buttafuoco. I mean, he tried. He was at the front multiple times throughout the race, would get shuffled back to the tail end, managed to work his way back to the front with a run. Never seemed to really work out in his favor once he got to the front. But Justin Brooks, also resilient there, found his way to the middle of the pack a couple times through those pit stops and then to the front, and it paid off for him tonight.
Buttafuoco was the point leader for segment 2, coming in by 10 over Walker. So his finish in this race, very important. Those two drivers, as they had a 10-point separation in the second race of segment number 2. The winner of the event was Justin Brooks. Hannah Newhouse making your way down to victory lane. Hannah's with the winner, Justin Brooks.
And glad it's a short little run down to victory lane for me. The virtual one's much easier to get to. But Justin, first off, congratulations there on your win tonight at Talladega. We saw the excitement as you crossed the line there. What was going through your mind that last lap, or really the 3 laps to go when we got that caution, and you saw the entire field nosed up behind you?
I was just trying to play every scenario in my head since we took that white flag. I was like, he can make a move here, and I was just watching my gaps, my intervals, just seeing what pace I needed to run, if I need to let off just a little bit so that way they can't get too big of a run on us. And I got lucky there. J-Mac stayed with me the whole way there until off of turn 4, and it looked like something happened behind him going to middle 3 and 4. So by the time that happened, I knew that I pretty much had it unless he side drafted me. And I just stayed in it, just checked my mirrors and looked straight ahead whenever I saw that he couldn't get up beside my quarter panel, and just took the checker plate that way.
Now, you locked yourself in round 1 to that championship race, but we started round 2 off with 2 wild cards. We went to a road course, and then we went to a super speedway. What's your mentality as one of those drivers, and one of only 2 drivers being locked into that championship race, as we have almost a full season left to race?
Right now, it's just go out and try to win as many races as I can. I mean, I'm locked in. No need to sit there and play it conservative. Go out there and give it all. I mean, I played this race at the start conservative. I had to lead and then let it go, and I ended up getting in a wreck because of it. Because I was just trying to just manage my gas and stuff. Because I would have stayed up front, then I would have burned more gas off. And I just like I said, it's just all about going all out, 100%. Iowa and whatever other tracks we have remaining left. Like, just go out there and give 110%. Don't look back and try to get him in checker place as I can before we go for that Miami or for that finale.
And that's why you got that nickname last season, Mr. Consistent. It's panned in to this season. You've ran well at pretty much every racetrack that we've gone to. Again, congratulations, Justin, on your win tonight at Talladega.
Yeah, thank you. I want to thank JTG, Doherty Racing, Cottonelle, everybody that's behind the team supporting me, all my friends and family for watching. And I want to thank you guys for putting this on.
Another win in the books for him. Justin Brooks collects your win here tonight at Talladega.
3 wins for Brooks this season. Just in those wins alone, that's a combined $6,000 in racing of the eNASCAR Heat Pro League. Taking a look at the rundown of results as Justin Brooks claims the victory. McGraw, Zader, Alvarado, Ogle completing the top 5. There's Buttafuoco, who led the points in segment 2 coming into this race. He finishes right around mid-pack in 6th. And Slade Gravett takes 7th, Hannah.
And looking a little bit farther back again, part of that last lap melee that took place, Nick Walker up front for most of the race comes home in 8th. Matthew Selby and Tyler Dohar round out your top 10. Jose Ruiz, Brian Tedeschi and Morris again involved early on in a couple things on 12th and 13th.
All the importance on the driver championship standings when it comes to getting into that championship race at the end of the year and winning segments. But the driver standings led right now by Buttafuoco after 2 of the 4 races. Zader in the 42-second, 8 points behind. Walker, Brooks, Selby completing the top 5. Alvarado and Gravett in 6th and 7th. And these are the all-important points that will potentially put them into the championship race by winning the points in segment number 2 as we look at the rest of the top 14, Hannah.
Yeah, absolutely. Tyler Dohar in that 8th spot. Had a good run going tonight. He's got 2 more races left to capitalize here in round 2. Brian Tedeschi and Riley Ogle round out your top 10 in the driver's standings. And following them, Jordan McGraw, Matthew Heel, Jose Ruiz, and Sam Morris with Hendrick Motorsports in that 14th spot.
The team standings, all about pride for the team. Not necessarily getting into the championship as the driver's standings, but the team standings give them some pride, and Germain Gaming right now holding that pride between the Xbox and PS4 gamers, leading the way with Chip Ganassi Gaming second, JTG Doherty in third, Wood Brothers fourth, Levine Family Gaming in the 5th spot, RCR, and Stuart Haas rounding out the top half of our field.
Yeah, absolutely, Adam. Like you said, not necessarily playing into locking into a championship, but more or less just about the bragging rights and being able to say that your team was on top as a collective. So Petty Esports in that 8th spot, Penske in the 9th spot, close battle between them and Petty and Penske. Roush Fenway Gaming rounds out your top 10. Go Fast Gaming, Gibbs Gaming, Hendrick Motorsports Gaming Club, and Junior Motorsports, your tail end of the field for team standings.
Great action from virtual Talladega Super Speedway here tonight. Hannah, next up, Iowa Speedway, a fast, short track. Thursday, June 18th. We have next week off to get prepared for Thursday, June 18th. Plenty of practice for these competitors of the eNASCAR Heat Pro League. Coverage begins at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday, June 18th from Iowa with the NASCAR Xfinity Series we're going to bring out on track.
And Iowa
Well, Hannah,
Speedway, one of my favorite. Yeah. It's one of my favorite racetracks we go to in real life. I know I am excited to get here in 2 weeks. These drivers, you saw the excitement they brought here at Talladega. They're going to bring it that much more at Iowa. Again, having this week off next week, and let's put them on a short track this time, and the fastest one we have at that. So I am very excited. This has to be one of the pinpoint racetracks that I look forward to every year.
That it will. It's been a lot of fun from virtual Talladega tonight. Hannah, great job as always. We missed Rusty Walrus, who I know missed being here with us here tonight to call the action. Can almost hear his laughter in the background as some of those drivers were going 2 and 3 wide coming down the stretch to the checkered. For Hannah Newhouse and the rest of the eNASCAR Heat Pro League, I'm Adam Mackey saying so long from virtual Talladega.
Cage of cold metal with hot rubber at the corners, a chariot of thundering fury. The difference between you and your rivals isn't just the war paint traded in battle, it's more. Refuse to lose. NASCAR Heat 5.